What is your price? It is a question that, consciously or unconsciously, the world asks us every single day. If you were offered enough gold to rival the richest kings of history, would you change your principles? If you were offered absolute power to be the king of your city, the leader of your people, or the CEO of the world's most powerful empire, would you soften your message? If you were offered the most beautiful spouse, the highest status, and a life of absolute luxury where you never had to lift a finger again, would you agree to just one small compromise? This is not a hypothetical scenario. This is the true heart-pounding story of the moment the entire world was placed at the feet of one man. It is the story of the ultimate negotiation, a high-stakes meeting that took place in the scorching heat of the Arabian desert over 1,400 years ago. It was the night when the forces of absolute materialism collided with the immovable force of Tawheed, the belief in the oneness of God. The elite chiefs of the Quraysh, the most powerful tribe in Mecca, were desperate. They were the tycoons of their time, men of immense wealth, influence, and pride. For years, they had tried everything to stop the message of Islam. They had launched smear campaigns, calling the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, a magician, a poet, and a madman. When words failed, they turned to violence. They tortured the weak, they starved the believers, and they plotted assassinations. But nothing worked. The light of Islam was like water. The harder they tried to grasp it and crush it, the more it slipped through their fingers and spread. So they decided to change their tactics. They realized that perhaps force was the wrong instrument. They thought, every man has a price, every man has a desire, let us buy him out. They convened a secret meeting, a gathering of the dark hearts of Mecca, to devise a plan that they believed no human being could refuse. They weren't going to fight him anymore, they were going to offer him the world. They sent their best negotiator, Utbah ibn Rabi'a, a man known for his silver tongue and diplomatic skills, to approach the Prophet, peace be upon him. The scene was set. On one side stood the charm, the wealth, and the seductive power of the dunya. On the other side stood a man with nothing in his hands but the truth in his heart. Utbah spoke softly, "O son of my brother, you are one of us. You have noble lineage, but you have brought a matter that has divided our people. Listen to me. If you want money, we will gather our wealth until you are the richest among us. If you want honor, we will make you our chief, so that no decision is made without your approval. If you want a kingdom, we will crown you our king. And if this spirit that comes to you is something you cannot control, we will spend our fortunes to find the best doctors to cure you." Imagine the wake of that moment. The Prophet, peace be upon him, sat quietly. He didn't interrupt, he didn't shout, he didn't get angry. He let the man finish his sales pitch. He let the dunya lay out its most glittering carpet. The silence that followed was heavier than the mountains of Mecca. The chiefs of Quraysh waited with bated breath. They expected a negotiation. They expected a counteroffer. They expected him to say, "I'll take the kingdom, but let me keep my prayer," or "I'll take the gold and we can meet halfway." But the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, did not speak from his own desires. He didn't even argue with human logic. The response that came was not a negotiation. It was a divine decree that would shatter their hopes forever. It was a response that would draw a line in the sand that remains until the day of judgment. This response came directly from the Lord of the seven heavens. It came down as a revelation, a short but thunderous chapter of the Quran that we recite often but rarely understand. It was the revelation of Surah Al-Kafirun. Welcome back to Islamic Light Stories TV. Today, we are going to dive deep into the story behind this powerful surah. We are going to uncover why the Quraysh's final bargain was actually a trap, and why the Prophet's refusal is the most important lesson for Muslims living in the modern world today. This isn't just history. This is the blueprint for how to hold on to your faith when society demands you let it go. To understand the magnitude of this surah, we have to look at the specific proposal that triggered its revelation. The chiefs of Mecca, after realizing that bribery wasn't working, came up with what they thought was a genius compromise. It was a proposal of religious pluralism, or so it seemed. They approached the Prophet, peace be upon him, and said, "Muhammad, let us make a deal. We will worship your God, Allah, for 1 year, and in return you will worship our gods, Allat and Al-Uzza, for 1 year. If your path is the truth, we will get a share of it, and if our path is the truth, you will get a share of it. We will meet in the middle." On the surface, to a secular mind, this sounds fair. It sounds like tolerance. It sounds like modern diplomacy. Let's just all get along. You do your thing, I'll do my thing, and sometimes we'll swap. But in the eyes of God, this was not tolerance. It was the destruction of the truth. You cannot mix pure water with poison and call it a beverage. You cannot mix the light of monotheism with the darkness of idolatry and call it faith. The Prophet, peace be upon him, knew that this wasn't about finding the truth. It was about neutralizing the truth. If he had agreed to bow down to an idol for even 1 second, his entire message would have collapsed. He would have become just another politician, just another tribal leader willing to bend his morals for peace. And so Allah revealed the final verdict. Let's walk through Surah Al-Kafirun verse by verse to see how it dismantled their arguments and how it speaks to us today. The surah begins with the command, "Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun." Say, O ye disbelievers. Notice the word "qul," say. This indicates that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not speaking on his own behalf. He is a messenger delivering a letter from the king. He is commanded to address them directly, and he addresses them as al-kafirun. Now, we need to pause here. In the West, and indeed across the world, the word kafir is often misunderstood or treated as a slur. But linguistically, in Arabic, kufr means to cover or hide. A farmer who buries a seed in the ground is linguistically doing kufr, covering the seed. In the religious context, a kafir is not just someone who doesn't know the truth. A kafir is someone who sees the truth, recognizes it deep down, but arrogantly chooses to cover it up because it conflicts with their desires, their status, or their ancestors' traditions. By using this word, Allah was telling the Prophet to expose their reality. They weren't negotiators. They weren't open-minded seekers. They were people covering the truth. Allah was telling the Prophet, do not be shy, do not be polite in a way that compromises the message. Call them what they are. Then comes the second verse, La abudu ma tabudun. I do not worship what you worship. This is a statement of the present. Right now, in this moment, there is no common ground between my worship and yours. You might think we are asking for the same thing, but we are not. The Quraysh claimed they believed in Allah too. They said, we know Allah created the heavens and the earth. We just use these idols to get closer to Him. They are our intercessors. This is where the confusion lies, even today. Many people say, we all worship the same God, just in different ways, but this verse shatters that illusion. If your method of worship involves associating partners with God, if it involves bowing to statues or saints, or seeking power from created beings, then you are not worshiping the God of Islam. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was declaring, my worship is direct, it is pure, it connects the slave to the master with no middleman. Your worship is cluttered with superstition and stone. We are not doing the same thing. Allah continues in the third verse, Wala antum abiduna ma abud, nor are you worshippers of what I worship. This is a powerful psychological blow to the Quraysh. They prided themselves on being the custodians of the Kaaba. They thought they were religious people. They thought they were the people of Allah. But here Allah is stripping them of that title. He is saying, you think you worship Allah. No, because you do not worship Him on His terms. You worship Him on your terms. True worship requires submission. The word Islam means submission. If you say you worship God, but you refuse to follow His commands, and instead you invent your own rituals and bow to your own desires, then you are not truly worshiping Him. You are worshiping your own ego.
Allah is telling them, your version of religion is fake. You are not worshipping the one I worship. Then the surah repeats a similar structure, but with a profound shift in grammar and meaning in verse 4. وَلَا أَنَا عَبِدٌ مَا عَبَدْتُمْ, and I will not be a worshipper of what you worship. Scholars of the Arabic language point out a beautiful nuance here. In the previous verses, the focus was on the action of worship. Here, the structure changes to a noun form, implying permanence and character. The prophet is effectively saying, it is not in my nature to worship what you worship. Even before I received revelation, did you ever see me bow to an idol? Did you ever see me participate in your pagan rituals? No, it is impossible for me to ever do so. It is contrary to who I am. This destroys their hope for the future. The Quraysh were hoping that maybe if he doesn't agree today, he might agree next year. Maybe if we apply more pressure, he will crack. This verse slams the door shut. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. It is not in my DNA to commit shirk, polytheism. And then verse 5 reiterates, وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَبِدُونَ مَا عَبُودُ, nor will you be worshippers of what I worship. This is a prophecy. Allah is telling the Prophet, peace be upon him, that these specific leaders who are negotiating with you right now, the likes of Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl, Walid ibn Mughira, they will never change. Their hearts have been sealed because of their arrogance. They will die in this state. And history bears witness that these specific chiefs died as enemies of Islam. They never crossed the bridge to faith. Finally, the surah concludes with the most famous verse, the verse that defines the relationship between the believer and the hostile disbeliever. Lakum dinukum waliya din. For you is your religion, and for me is my religion.